Welcome to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast, an interview-driven show focused on stories over stats, and your number one home for everything happening in FCS football, the Big Sky Conference, and of course, your UC Davis Aggies. Each week, we sit down with players, coaches, alumni, and voices around the program to dive deep into the stories that matter and have a little fun along the way. This is Aggie Pride.
This episode is proudly sponsored by Next Level Sports, delivering the best youth sports experience. If you have a young, aspiring athlete in 1st through 7th grade, this is your chance to get out on the field with Next Level Flag Football. All teams are coached by current athletes, giving kids real mentorship from the same student athletes who practice and play on the same field. All activity takes place at your local school, so get your full game day experience every week. Whether your participant is brand new to the sport or already obsessed, Next Level focuses on skill building, teamwork, and growth. It's an incredible way to build confidence, make friends, and learn from true role models. Registration currently ongoing and spots going fast. Sign up today at nextlevelsports.com. Give your athlete the best youth sports experience. All right. Welcome back to Aggie Pride. We have a good one today. It is our new coaches series where we have some of the heavy hitters from UC Davis coaching lore throughout history at the college and professional level, some current or active coaches, some retired coaches, young, old, and everywhere in between. Today, we have a chance to sit down with new Arizona Cardinals offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. Of course, Coach Hackett was a former UC Davis football player, started his coaching career at UC Davis. His father played and coached at UC Davis before going on to a big-time career, head coach Pittsburgh, head coach at USC, assistant coach at the NFL level, all over the place. We know Nathaniel's story. He has been offensive coordinator, I believe, 4 different NFL programs. He's Aaron Rodgers' favorite coach, as we know, and has been someone who I can't believe he's 46 years old. This guy has been just really, really successful. In maybe our eyes really quickly, but I'm sure it's a different experience being in his shoes. But we get just a lot of insights in a short amount of time with him. So really looking forward to you guys being able to hear about that. Do want to touch base on a couple other things. Eric Sanders, former UC Davis assistant coach, speaking of the coaching tree of UC Davis, has been named the new defensive coordinator at the University of Montana. So the Grizz replace Bobby Houck with their receivers coach, and they hire a defensive coordinator from outside the network. Again, Coach Sanders was most recently the defensive coordinator at Eastern Washington. And so just say congrats to Coach. Dwight was like, this guy drank more Red Bulls than anyone. And I do remember him like the Energizer Bunny. Guy had calves that will just jump out at you. And just was a good dude, though, like personable, and someone that you enjoyed seeing every day you go to the building. And so it's fun to see someone that Dwight and I were coached by who is moving up in the coaching ranks at the FCS level at what I say maybe is like the biggest brand left in the FCS, because, you know, the Mighty Hornets left. Just kidding. North Dakota State bounced to the Mountain West, which we talked about last week. I will remind folks, last week's episode with Todd Shaner is up live on YouTube. Thank you for the subscribers who are continuing to subscribe for $5 a month. For $5 a month, you get early access to episodes, and there is a vault of subscriber-only episodes as well that we are looking forward to adding to throughout the offseason. So for those who have not already known, you can subscribe for the podcast for $4.99 a month. This is an amount of money that most of the listeners would not notice because they are spending that times 3 or 5 during the week on coffee, let alone other knickknacks. And so would encourage you guys, you can go to the About section of the podcast on Spotify, on Apple, and there's a subscribe button there. And it's really easy. You just throw in your info and you're rocking and rolling, and you can get the early access to stuff. And if you got some road trips and you need a few to bang out the road trip, then that's a great way to do that. Also want to remind people, Saturday, February 28th, it's probably very close to the day by the time you listen to this, at 5 p.m. at Local Edition is the first ever Aggie football fundraiser, the wine tasting fundraiser. So a great way to support the program. It's going to be, again, at Local Edition in the Hearst Building on Market Street in San Francisco. $250 for solo, $450 for a couple, and there's an online auction for those who can't make it, who can, bid on some stuff, that'd be really great. But where it is that this is going to be pretty legit. I think the attendance is legit from what I'm hearing from people. And a lot of people have stepped up. The wineries that mostly have UC Davis ties to it, maybe all of them, have really come alongside the program. And so you can still RSVP. There's ways to do that through Champions Aggies. There's ways to do that through UCDavisAggies.com. And you can find more information on our Instagram at UC Davis Football Podcast. You can also find it on UC Davis Football's Instagram or their Twitter or, again, their website. If you have been on the fence on that, I think it is going to be pretty legit. 5 to 9, the last day of February. It's not leap year, at least not that I know. And it'll be a great way for you guys to be able to check out that. In terms of the rest of the way, what we kind of have going through the off season. If you haven't got the memo by now, we have a pretty cool series with coaches coming up. So if you are a former UC Davis athlete, coach who has moved on and is coaching at the high school level, reach out. If you're coaching at the college or professional level, reach out. We'd love to have you. We've already gotten commitments from guys like Nick Aliota, longtime Oregon Duck defensive coordinator, Pittsburgh, California native, who the Aliota family has ties to De La Salle and I believe Pittsburgh High School. We'll have to ask Coach Aliotti. But that's going to be a really cool one. Coach Mike Morosky is another one that both Dwight and myself were coached by, who is in the longtime UC Davis assistant, who, of course, was a San Francisco 49ers quarterback in his playing days after a successful career at UC Davis, but has been the College of Idaho head coach since that program's inception. I want to say a decade ago. That feels right. And I know he's had a lot of success there. So looking forward to catching up with Coach Mo. Super personable guy, someone with a lot of integrity and someone that we always looked up to, and Dwight has looked up to throughout his life, even before UC Davis. So looking forward to that. Excuse me. Mike Healy, hoping to get the Truckee High School assistant on here. Randy Wright, modern day offensive coordinator, one of the biggest name high schools in the country. Hoping to get Randy on board, UC Davis quarterback when Dwight and I were playing. But for those who haven't already, again, feel free to DM us or tag us on Instagram is the best way to let us know. I do have a few of these hats left, by the way. We've sent them out to some guests and whatnot. But if you're like, hey, you know what? I could use a little dopamine hit, and I'd like to get an Aggie Pride hat. These ones, I would say, were some of the faves, the tan and blue combo. You can go ahead online and snag one of those at AggiePridePodcast.com. Without further ado, enjoy our first episode of our new coaches series with new Arizona Cardinals offensive coordinator and former Aggie, Nathaniel Hackett. Enjoy. Welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. I'm here with Dwight Smith, and I'm here with the first of a really cool series that we're doing, Coach, throughout the offseason. Coach Bob Biggs has hooked it up, I will say, with a bunch of the legends in the UC Davis coaching sphere. And so we start today with new Arizona Cardinals offensive coordinator and former Ag, Nathaniel Hackett. Coach, how you doing, man?
Absolutely fantastic. How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Can't
How you
complain.
doing, Dwight?
Can't complain. Rainy day.
Yeah, how you
rainy
doing,
day.
Dwight? You doing good, man?
I'm good. Rainy day here in Sacramento. But fired up for this conversation, Coach. And we always start these conversations going back to the beginning. And I think our listeners, folks that are Aggie fanatics, might know a bit about the Hackett legacy at UC Davis, but want to kind of hear from you with regard to kind of your love for the game. Take us back to the beginning, as far as you can go, of like, where was that and how was that seed planted for you? And then how did that kind of grow and mature to you ending up, suiting up for the Aggies?
Wow. That's deep right there. That's good stuff. For me, football has been everything for me and my family. It's given me everything in my life. Looking back to my father, he was a coach, another Aggie. And when I was born, I think 3 weeks later, my dad won the Rose Bowl. And he was at USC at the time, played Ohio State. My nickname by my godfather, who is also an Aggie, Jerry Attaway, is Buckeye. So he calls me Buckeye because they won that game at the Rose Bowl. So, football has been part of my life forever. And the reality of it is I didn't think I was going to be in football as I got older, moving around all the time, with my dad. We were in, I was at USC first when I was just a little kid. Then we went to Cleveland Browns after the Cleveland Browns. And it's funny because my dad's journey even starts before that, the Cal, the Davis, all those times. But for me personally, it was Cleveland. Then we went to the 49ers. Those were some great golden years, 1984, 85 Super Bowl. My dad won. I still look at that Super Bowl ring, and and even when he looks at it, it's just looking at his smile is one of the most beautiful things ever. And after the Niners, we went to the Dallas Cowboys, which was crazy. And that was kind of the first time I remember really being around football. The head coach at that time was Tom Landry. I remember Tony Dorsett, when I was a kid, would come up and roughhouse and beat me up on the field and during practice. Those were some great days. And then I actually have some other crazy stories. Kevin Gogan was crazy. He was a right guard that was huge and would fight everybody. He was very scary, but damn, he was good. And then after the Dallas Cowboys, we went to University of Pittsburgh, and my dad was the offensive coordinator there and then became the head coach there. And after that, we went to Kansas City Chiefs. So we were at the Chiefs. Those were those years when Joe Montana and Marcus Allen, all guys he had coached in the past, come together. And I think that's when I started realizing I was working training camp. I was equipment boy. I was cleaning clothes, folding towels, and I really was in the locker room all the time with those guys. And I don't know if you guys remember that era of football, but Derek Thomas, Dan Salimua, Neil Smith, Tracy Simeon. I mean, the list goes on and on. And I for whatever reason, hung out with the defensive guys more. It was just such a unique locker room, and to grow up in that and be part of that. And 5 weeks when you're working with those guys, you start seeing how great they are as humans, and just fun to be around. And then watching my dad and Marty Schottenheimer. I remember the first time I ever got really ripped by somebody was Marty Schottenheimer just undressed me on the field because I had spotted the ball wrong. And, I realized, man, you can't mess up. You can't even mess up an inch and people will get you. But I started really, that was kind of the times that I remember. But I remember even though we were winning quite a bit and the Chiefs were so good those years, it was funny that there was a lot of certain people were, going after my pops and saying, oh, not very good and all this stuff. So that was kind of the time that I was like, man, you even win and do so well. And you still, as a coach, get it. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this coaching thing. But my whole life, I had always wanted to go to UC Davis. And that was because that's where my father went. That's where my mother went. That's where they met. My brother went there. And so that was my brother was like my role model. And it was like, I want to go be an Aggie. So from Kansas, after we were there for those 5 years, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go be a doctor or something. I'm going to play football because I love just kind of playing the game, but I'm not going to, continue that afterwards. And then I went to UC Davis, had the best 5 years ever. My best friends in the world are all from there. John Vieiro, Adro Evero, who we all know is another just unbelievable coach in this league, the D coordinator at Carolina, BJ, Dom, there was just Nick Yang, Grant Sayset. There were so many guys that were just so awesome throughout my college there that I absolutely loved. And I think we were so successful those years. So successful those 5 years, went to the semifinals a couple times. JT was the quarterback. We had Kevin Daft was the quarterback when I first got there. So there was just when you're winning, you're loving it. But I think it was more like my real true love of wanting to be part of football forever was because of those guys. I think that's the unique thing about UC Davis and how, especially back then when they would put us with guys. I remember I was in with Justin Locke and Eric Taylor, and they put me in. I had to sleep on their couch. Grant Sayset was on one side of the couch, I was on the other, and we're doing training camp. It created this amazing bond between Aggies while we're going through training camp. And I started really loving that aspect. And then I was also had a somewhat of a difficult major. As I was going through college, my major was really hard. And football was kind of that release and that thing that I loved so much. And as I went through my college, Mark Johnson ended up being my coach my senior year. And I looked up to him so much as a coach that I started seeing more of the coaching aspect of it. And he's asked me to help. So I was doing labs to get my degree, finishing up that last year, and also going on the grass and coaching. And really it just kind of came to that moment that I was like, man, I think I might want to try this coaching thing out, because Coach Johnson had meant so much to me. Coach Morosky, I was around him more because he was offense, I was defense. But then once I was working as like a volunteer coach that last spring, I was like, man, this is good stuff. Coach Biggs was there. He allowed me to be around. Like, there was just so much goodness. Lou Bronson. I mean, it was such a great group. And then that's when I had options to do some things after college, and I was lucky enough to get, one interview. It's funny. I sent out 50 letters, all first class mail, whatever I could to get the letter, because back then we didn't really use email much. It was all letters. And I got 48 responses. I got 48 no responses. Like, nobody even sent me anything. And then I got 2 people that actually sent me something. One was Chris Peterson, that said, we don't have anything available. And then I got one from Cal. They said I was going to have to do something to potentially be a GA, whatever. So I was going to go back and volunteer at Davis. And then Keith Buckley gave me an opportunity to interview at Stanford. And that's where I interviewed at Stanford, and Buddy Tevens interviewed me, and I got the job, and they threw me on offense. And ever since then, I've been all over the place, and here I am. But I don't think it would have ever happened if I didn't have that experience at Davis, and just the love for the team. Like, that is where it really grew, and just being out on the field, being with some of those amazing coaches was just, it was unbelievable. And I was like, you know what, I think I want to be part of that. And my godfather, when I told him I was going to go into coaching, who coached at the 49ers for years, he won, I think, 4 Super Bowls. He was the strength coach, Jerry Attaway. When I told him, he told me I was insane and crazy. Don't ever coach. What are you doing? But then after that, he went about 30 minutes of telling me some of the greatest stories ever of all of his experience at the 49ers and at UC Davis, which just clarified more that, man, this seems like something really fun, and I think I'd really enjoy it. And so that's when the journey really began as a coach.
Wow. I'm going to give it to you, Brock, because I know we're short on time, but I just want to say, Coach, you probably just set the record for the most epic name drops across UC Davis history, pros, UC Davis players, coaches, ever.
Definitely on the pod. The best,
ever on the pod.
Best name drop segment we've had.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was some name drops. That's not even all of them, man. I've been lucky to be around some great people.
Well, and just real quick, the thing that, I mean, there's so much there, and we probably need to have a part 2, 3, and 4. But like, one of the moments that stuck out to me was when you were talking about the 3 weeks old legacy of your dad, and even like looking at him and his face when he looks at that championship ring, and just how relational the game is, and coaching and life, and that's something we always try and weave in with our conversations here. And I think you did it in a very condensed but brilliant way. So I just want to appreciate, you taking us from the beginning up to now in about 5 minutes.
No doubt. And saying that too, it's funny because through all the ups and downs that I've had doing this, it's awesome when my father, who, his mentor was so many great ones from UC Davis, from Bob Biggs, Coach Foster, like all those guys that he was with. He always tells me, he goes, Nathaniel, never forget we do this for the relationships. He always tells me that. So no matter how good it is, no matter how bad it is, he always has me reference back to that. And it goes back to all the guys I played with. And then even how I coach, it's about the relationships, because, if you win, if you don't have a great relationship, it doesn't feel like it should, so it's all about the relationships you have and the blood, sweat, and tears you put into this game, and it's the best game in the world. And so all the adversity you face is worth it when you have the great relationships around you.
Yeah, Coach, it takes me to many places too. Like, so many of those names that you mentioned take me back to moments as a fan, moments as a player, moments as a coach, moments in this arena, our little podcast about UC Davis football and all the ways it impacts the football world. And so I was just putting myself in your shoes for a second. Like, for those who don't know, which everyone listening does, but coach just took the job for the offense coordinator at the Arizona Cardinals, and he's in it. I mean, it's 2 weeks old, it's 3 weeks old. Like you're in it. You're doing all the things that we can imagine. And so even spending a moment like this, it takes you away from your job, like what you are doing, what you are so passionate about, what you've been doing for 20 plus years. So when you get a moment to reflect, even if it's quick like this, like
Mm.
I'll just re-ask you, like, what is it like for you to rattle off some of those names and stories? Like, what does it do for your body and mind to think like, dang man, like I'm still doing this. I'm still doing this at a high level. And like, look at all of the lives that I've been able to be touched by and touch along the way.
I mean, it can get overwhelming at times, but I think you're right. Sometimes it's great to sit back and think about it. Some of the guys, and I look, and that was just to get to the coaching. But then when you go through the coaching journey
Yeah.
of all the men that I've been, it's humbling at times to think of all the guys that I've been able to be around, and be able to coach. And as much as I tried to coach them, they coached me without even knowing it. And the things that I've learned, because that was, a lot the Aggie way was, I mean, Fred Arp underneath the tree, it was the players working it out, their different stunts that they wanted to do. It was like it reminds me of, talking to Aaron about, what's he going to get to here? What's he going to do there? It's about that relationship, talking with Blake, my time with him, and, just all the different guys that Ryan Fitzpatrick, all the guys that I've been so lucky to be with. You realize like, wow, those relationships. And it's not just about football, because it's just so much deeper, than, and it gets overwhelming at times when you think of the people you've been with, when you think of the people you've affected. And I mean, I'm telling you, as much as I might have helped them, or as great of a relationship I feel like I have, I'm so grateful for what they've given me.
Yeah. And Dwight, I'll kick it to you for the next one. But before I do, Coach, I'm wondering, like, out of all the coaches and players you've been impacted by and around, like, how has your coaching philosophy kind of shifted and changed? And even in the last few years where like you have been so prominent at different times, obviously around someone like Aaron who takes up so much of the media world and the fan world. What do you think you've seen in yourself as like shifts and things you've learned, whether it's philosophical, like on the field, or relational off the field as a coach?
I think one thing that I don't think has ever changed is that aspect of the relationship. I think that to be able to coach somebody and coach them hard and be able to truly help them, you have to have that trust factor. And you always have to be able to, trust them. They have to trust you, so that you're not just saying things to say things. You want it to mean something. So I think that that's always been consistent. That's who I am, and that's who I'll always be. Um, I think throughout all of it, I think you learn more and more how thick your skin has to be, from the standpoint of, there's a lot of things that go on behind closed doors that nobody knows about. And that's how it should be. I mean, it's like when we talk about the locker room, what goes on in the locker room stays in the locker room. What goes on in the meeting room stays in the meeting rooms. Like all those things are very powerful. And I have learned throughout all the time is, my job is to know everything about a system, everything about the person, everything about what they can do good and all that. But in the end, I just keep learning it's about them. It's not necessarily what I know, and because I can know everything. I can be, know every single thing about a protection, a run, a pass play, but it's about them being able to make it theirs. It's about the players being able to go out there, and it's funny because, obviously we're talking about the Aggies, but I remember how Coach Bronson would always talk to us, and the adjustments we had were about us making those adjustments in defense based off all the splits. He gave us the tools, and they were able to go out there and make it. We were able to go out there and make it our own. I think that's something that I always want to strive to do. And sometimes you have to start that foundation and tell them. And I think Coach Lou was so good at that. Hey, this is our foundation. This is what we do. But these are the things you can adjust to make it better on yourself, or understand your threats and your issues. And It's the same thing with offensive football in the NFL. It's understand how you can take advantage of the different looks, and you always want to try to evolve that way and always trying to make it so that it's theirs. It's because they're the ones that go out between those lines and they go play, and we're here to just guide them and help them and mentor them and make them feel comfortable that they're out there and they can go execute at a high level.
Yeah, it is all about those relationships, Coach. You've brought up Coach Lou a couple times. Brock, we'll have to send
One of our
Coach.
faves.
Yeah, we'll have to send Coach. That we got to sit down in Coach Lou's house and have like an hour-long conversation with him for the pod. So we'll
He's the
send you
best.
that. Yeah, he's incredible. He
Please do.
retired. Yeah, he retired. I think, Brock, it was a season after we started. Or
Mhm.
the
Yeah, his
offseason
last
after
year.
we started. But I want to shift us a little bit here, Coach, to the Aggs, the current iteration of UC Davis football. You mentioned Coach Plough, and you're connected and are able to see, I'm sure, from afar what's happening. You mentioned your era, highly successful, kind of at the close of that Division II era time, and I would say now we're right at the cusp of getting to that level of success at the Division I level. And so just want to kind of get your view from where you sit as someone who's immersed in that Aggie pride, who knows what it's all about in so many ways. What are you seeing, whether it's, Coach Plough's approach and philosophy, how the team has navigated, especially the last 2 seasons? What are you seeing when you look at this current Aggie squad?
I mean, I see a lot of us back in the day where, and the type of guys that he's bringing in and the people, it's Aggie pride. It's what we all said and believed in. I mean, you guys got it on your hats. I mean, it's a thing of beauty, and that meant something to all of us. And I think to have a guy like Tim Plough there, I mean, I remember when I was a player and I hosted him on his recruiting trip and got him to commit to Davis, which was
Okay, tell us about that, Coach.
we just hung around and talked about
Coffee
academics.
shops.
Yeah, good stuff. But it's like, to see him and he knows what we're about. I mean, just to be there, I went out there this past spring and was able to see him, talking and just how he's operating. It reminds me so much, obviously at a higher level, but the same mindset on how he was, talks to the quarterback, teaches the quarterbacks, talks to the team, teaches the team, gives them a lot of empowerment. Like and even the people he's recruiting to bring in there, those guys that are on that team, it's awesome because it makes me want to root for him even more, because it's not just about him, it's about the Aggies again. I mean, he's one of those guys that he's one of us. So it's like he understands what we all stood for. And I mean, heck, we always laugh. We turn our grays in and, we didn't have much. We had the little lockers and, we were all in that community and we had our pads being hung, to dry instead of washed, all that stuff that happened when I was there.
Yeah.
It's great because it's getting so much better, and seeing the weight room and seeing all the things that he's done and all that the university has done for the football team, but we still haven't lost that Aggie pride. I think that was always one of the fears that all of us as players, we never want to lose that because it was so powerful. And he's such a great spokesperson for all of us that have played there for all the years past, that it's just, you love watching, even when they play, how they play together on the field. It's so awesome to see. So I think that's something that I've appreciated. And I mean, now I tune in all the time whenever I can. I'm always watching the Ags on the ESPN and all that. I mean, I love it. I went to, been able to go to a game and all that stuff. It's been great.
That's so cool. Yeah, Coach, it's an entertaining brand of football, right? Coach Plow's an innovative guy, and we love watching it just for, of course, our alma mater, but it is beautiful football to watch,
No
and
doubt.
especially on the offensive side of the ball. So I want to kind of close with a couple other thoughts. Where you are right now, new organization, new opportunity for yourself. And, you listed some of the stops along the way for your father. You listed some of the stops along the way for yourself in your coaching career. But where you are at now, when you think about, the things that you want to take with you to this offensive room, does anything come to mind?
Ooh, first I'd say I'm at a great place. I'm so lucky to be here, so thankful to be here. The Bidwells have been awesome. The general manager, Monty, and, to work with a guy like Mike LaFleur, a guy I've known for a long time that I just care about so much. It's an exciting time here in Arizona, and to be in some warmth, which is good too, because it's been a little cold in some places that I've been between New York, Green Bay, Buffalo, and Syracuse. But so all those things are positive and great. And I think, for here, it's about bringing that energy, bringing that juice, bringing that love of the game, bringing that passion, making new relationships, having an opportunity to meet, new people. I mean, there's a couple guys here that I've known that I've, coached in the past, and to be able to, bring those things back together. And, it's this time in the NFL is so great because you've got, free agency coming up. You've got the draft, you've got all these things. So many people you get to meet new and figure out who your team's going to be and what you're going to look like as the season, starts getting a little bit closer. But, again, we all know it's a new group. And, it wasn't a great season last year. And, we got to find a way to do whatever we can to bring that juice and get this thing back on track.
Yeah, it's an exciting time of year, I think at all levels, at least where we're sitting as guys kind of focus on covering the Ags, the FCS, college football in general, which we didn't get to talk about, but then the pros too. For fans, it's a lull right after that last game in February, but when you're really into it, there's so much that's going on behind the scenes, like you said. And, I think that we just feel grateful to be able to connect with Ags that are doing amazing stuff all over, both in the sports world and beyond. And so that's why this is a real treat for us. And I would just, Coach, give you kind of the last word. You think about our audience are current players, parents, alums, just fans of UC Davis football, really all over the world, actually, which is pretty cool. And so, when you think about, kind of a final word to folks that are invested in different levels with what's going on with UC Davis football and in Aggie Pride, is there anything that comes to mind that you want to communicate?
If I had one word, I would say utopia. I would say, to me, UC Davis, Aggie Pride, what Tim Plough's doing, just everything. I think it's this unbelievable world of football, and it's not normal. It's not a normal world of football on how it's run, it's operated, and all the way back to 98 when I first got there. Gosh, I can't believe I'm saying 1998. But it's like, I think that it's football is changing. The landscape is changing, both in college and in my world and in all the worlds. It's getting so big. Just from all the things that are going on with this NIL stuff, with just all these things. I think that Aggie Pride is this utopia of perfect football. I think it's just this ability for people to go out and play the game that they love and put a great product on that field and enjoy the college life, it's almost like it's the only place that is still doing it the way that it always has been. And UC Davis has always been kind of known for that. And I love that about it. And I just, want everybody to make sure and keep that utopia going as long as we can. Because we already made the jump to Division I. So it's like, and people were nervous about that, but if anybody's going to get it right, it's going to be Davis.
Yeah. Interesting times. Lots of opportunity, right? We talk about your new opportunity. I think the Ags are going to be given some new opportunities here in the coming years as well. But right now, we're at the top of FCS. We'll see if we can cross the finish line as the #1 team. But we know that you have a big season ahead of you. And as NFC West fans, I'll just leave it at that ourselves.
Okay.
We know that you are enhancing an already super competitive division. I don't need to say anything that you don't know. But we are behind you. Yeah, pretty good. We're behind you, Coach, and we're proud of you. And we're so grateful that you were able to hop on with Dwight and I. But just want to say thanks again on behalf of the Aggie Pride community. Thanks so much for all that you do.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure, and Aggie Pride all day.
Thanks, Coach.